Hi, Susan.
Yeah. Hi,
How
Louis.
are
How are
you?
you? I'm
I
good,
am
thank
well,
you.
thank you. Yeah, rainy day here in Jersey.
Oh,
And all the features, all the facilities. Um, it works out really well because we also use Confluence for some projects,
Yeah.
and Confluence and Jira are very tightly integrated, and it's very useful to when you combine the two tools, doing kind of project management becomes a lot easier than using other disjoint tools. I would say that we should look at the model of how Jira is used in ONAP, and it's pretty well documented. And I think what they've done is kind of like the gold standard for how to use Jira. And you're right. We used to have stand-up meetings, in the ONAP space where we would where we would use agile methodologies with the help of Jira and kind of, drive projects forward. So we did use stories. We did some, all the projects basically started out as a set of user stories. And everything was tracked as in Jira from that point on. So a Jira ticket would be open for any kind of official discussion topic that had to be managed, all the way to development activities, right? And we could
Uh,
keep track of them. We could see what the progress was. We could also create cut lines and, kind of make
mm.
sure that the right groupings of Jira tickets were being addressed in each release. That's the sort of thing I think we need to do.
But so Alex, in ONAP, then did you have? Is that what you say? You had stand-up meetings, or was that Intel internally? Or?
No, no, no. ONAP, I mean, the way ONAP ran, like every company, whoever the PTL was kind of the one setting the pace for for how the projects would be run. But the use of Jira was kind of universal throughout the project. And those projects that ran in that sort of agile, rapid iteration mode, again, it's helpful to have all the user stories and epics and group related work together, and also helps you kind of write down what you ultimately need to have in terms of an outcome, and then kind of have an incremental progress towards it. That's the beauty of user stories and epics.
Yeah, but so I guess and we are doing something very similar internally in HPE, but there we have the different roles of agility. We have Scrum Masters, we have these type of product owners and stuff. Is that that seems like a lot of efforts in an open source project? But did ONAP go down that route as well? Do you know? Or
Well, ONAP had PTLs, right? And then they
yeah,
had committers. And so the PTL would be the one responsible for the overall product leadership. There was a PTL meeting weekly where all the PTLs would attend and coordinate, what they were doing. The committers were the ones that were doing reviews and making sure that all the contributions were up to snuff and conform to whatever the user stories were and whatnot, right?
what
So
about things like
we didn't
so
have the whole elaborate, agile kind of scrum master kind of
yeah.
thing in ONAP. As far as they may have done it now, I don't know. But when I was involved, it didn't go that far. But you don't really need to get that formal to use Jira, right?
I agree.
You can
Agree.
you can start by saying that any project idea that you have eventually translates into a set of Jira stories or
But
epic.
I mean, it does allow you to do things like creating boards and stories.
Yes,
But it also
exactly.
has the issue concept here. So I'm let me just show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'm confused as to how are they used issues versus stories, right? Do we know? But
Well, so you use stories to define the shape of things, right? You use issues to keep track of specific specific work items.
so here you have issues, right? and you can create an issue. And we have issues in Git today, but
Yeah.
we could also create a storyboard, a Scrum board, and then I guess when we do that, now you can create user stories, and obviously this will allow you to do things like releases and these type of things. You also have the release.
You can create, I believe, if I remember right, you don't need to create a Scrum board to create, user stories and epics.
Yeah, but how do you create? Okay.
I don't remember. Oh man.
But you
So
said that perhaps ONAP had this documented somewhere, and we can
they
go in
do.
and
They have all the, there's a resources for developers on the front page, and I believe everything is described there in terms of how the projects run and what they use. One thing, Jonas, and that visualization tool that they had was used quite a bit to kind of visualize how all these projects were coming together. And Jira, by the way, is not limited to development. For example, if we want to keep track of issues we tackle in the TSC or in the architecture forum, those could become Jira issues as well.
okay, that's very cool. Yeah. So if I hit ONAP, then
I think it's on their wiki, so I'm not sure, what this professional exam is.
yeah, community.
Yeah, yeah. If you go to the wiki, there's a link.
Yes.
Louis,
Oh, is that
add a
just
link.
onapwiki.org or
How
a
it's,
wiki?
Louis, I don't remember exactly. Yeah, nope. Nope, go to wiki.onap.org.
Yeah,
Here, I
right
got it.
there. Yeah, go there. Yeah.
And then you'll see,
And then
scroll down.
shortcuts. It's
No. On
Jira.
the right, yeah, on the right side. I know how to get to it on the right side, right? So there is, oh man.
It says Jira reports. If you click, I think
Yeah.
that's
I
it.
saw
right?
this one, but
Yeah, I think that's it. It looks like the label changed, but that's fine. Oh, that's not it.
That's
Never
not
mind.
it.
The one I added just said Jira. It was a quick
Uh,
do the
link.
magical.
You know what I would suggest? And Louis, maybe you can help us facilitate this. Let's invite Brian Freeman from AT&T, who kind of drives a lot of these like tool chain related activities. And he was the one asking us about our tool chains during the TAC meeting. So let's have a look at, maybe he can give us some insights on, the ins and out of how they use Jira today.
I think that's an awesome idea, but I also think this might be the page we're looking for. But yeah, let's get him on and we can ask.
Jira design, yes, right. Viewing issues.
That's actually not it.
It's not Jira, but it explains what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So you could
this is
click
ONAP.
here.
That's why.
So these are ONAP. So these are ONAP projects. These are the actual kind of functional components that are being driven independently, Jonas.
Yeah, and here they can see issues. So I wonder. Well, I'm just trying to understand the difference between an issue and a user story, then, right?
Well, user story is conceptual, right? It breaks down into issues eventually that you have to deal with. But user story is persona driven, right? And so you're basically describing who will do what and how and to whom, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
that's the relationship. So that doesn't really break down into a set of engineering tasks. It's
well, it does. I mean, the engineers are working on a story level, and then they have some tasks. But,
right, but then they will decompose it further into issues, right? And
really?
go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so if we could, sorry, you were mentioning somebody that we wanted to invite from AT&T?
Yeah, Brian Freeman from ONAP is kind of big on tooling, and he was asking me questions during the TAC meeting about, our tool chains and how we use Jira, how we plan. He actually asked about GitHub and whether or not we were going to use Jira and all that. I think it would be good to kind of bring him in to consult with us on how to set things up.
Do you want to maybe have a portion for next week's meeting to talk with Brian?
Sure.
I can set that up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sure these guys have some materials prepared that they can present or just talk through or whatever makes sense.
Very cool. Yeah, let's see if we can get him.
In general, so.
Yeah, because I think
go
they
ahead.
have a good way of doing it, right? And they probably went through a lot of pain points to get that.
Yeah, I would say so, especially in the early days when the project just got started. We went through a lot of growing pains, but whatever they evolved into now, in terms of R&D practices, I think it's pretty solid. And it probably wouldn't have happened without Brian and a few other folks who were really adamant about kind of keeping things formal and descriptive and kind of making sure that all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted.
Yeah, no, that's a good that will save us a lot of time, I think.
Yeah.
So do we know? You mentioned Confluence as well, and is there Jira integration with Confluence? Or
yes.
How does?
Yes.
Okay.
If you in Confluence, there's a whole bunch of Jira-related macros that you can embed in your web pages. You can create references to Jira reports. You can generate, reports dynamically, I believe. There's that Kanban tool, the visualization tool those diagrams could be embedded. I mean, you could literally run a project and, on the wiki, and then embed, all the issues that you're working on in their status and everything in there. And, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. No, that's good. I don't think we have explored that integration.
Well, Jira and Confluence are made by the same company, so the integration is pretty tight. The other integration that Atlassian has is Slack. They have a pretty good Slack integration as well.
Between Jira, Confluence, and Slack?
Well, consider, so this company has a suite of tools. One part of that suite is Jira, one part is Confluence, but they have connectors to different kind of communication tools and teamwork tools. And, Slack is certainly one of them. I think they have one for Microsoft Teams if we want to, but the point is that they've the ecosystem of plugins that they have kind of goes beyond just the core, kind of how do you develop. I mean, there's communication and a bunch of other things. You should have a look. I mean, if you want, Jonas, we can carve out 30 minutes. I can show you where all this stuff is.
Yeah, so that would be helpful. So this is Jira and Confluence is all by, what is it called, Atlassian or something?
Yes, it's one company, and those are their flagships. And then they integrate with a whole bunch of other tools that we can use we already use, we use Slack, but they have a pretty good integration into it.
Okay, that sounds great. Yes, I think we have a good plan there. Brian Freeman, we can invite, and we can look at integration. I certainly don't want us to go and integrate anything with Teams because we're all using Slack in the project, right?
Yeah, no, and I think Slack is more appropriate because it's more open and there's no reason to go and use some crazy tool that breaks half the time.
Yeah.
We're having a hell of a time with it, at least in my group. So
I don't know if anybody else has input on Jira, but it might be premature to have a discussion about deciding anything. I think we need to look at what ONAP has done, and then we can see what we are doing in the individual companies. And then
this sounds good to me too. Yeah, I think the idea of having Brian come and explain how the ONAP project does it, that sounds really good to me. The only thing I would guess is that as per everything else we talk about with regards to ONAP, ours is going to be very simple in the beginning. as
Right,
far
but
as having, multiple project leads and all kinds of different projects going on, but all the concepts and the way they do things, I think this would be tremendously helpful.
you can make things as complicated as you want, Susan, right? That's the,
Yeah, and I don't wanna.
Jira
It's
is very
simple.
powerful, but the good thing about Jira is you can make things simple, you can make it complicated.
And they can grow with us. And I do think that that's important. Yes.
And one thing we need to be concerned with in terms of reasons to use it is because the rest of the LFN projects use it. So if we want to create any kind of interoperability between projects and do joint development or whatever, it's much easier to get everybody on one set of tools. And if the LFN communities all use Jira, we shouldn't be a snowflake in the middle of
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So I just dropped the link to the ONAP Jira on the chat, so you can go ahead and poke around there and in the meantime. And I just pinged Kenny on Slack, who's a fellow PM here, so I'll talk to him about just getting confirmation on Brian, and then I'll ping Brian separately, of course, to see his interest in talking to
Louis,
us.
can we get into that Jira then? Because we are
Yeah,
LFN.
You should be able to. Yeah, that's open. You should be able to get right in there.
Your Jira ID will apply to any Jira, I believe.
Yeah.
Your LFID should get you in there.
Yes, that's
If you
it.
get stuck. Yeah, that's the one.
Holy crap! They have some projects.
Yeah, they're the 800-pound gorilla. That's what they are. So we may not necessarily want to follow step for step because they've got lots of overhead. And as Susan said, we're going to start really small, and
Yeah,
and
but
build up.
it's good to look at their model and make sure that we keep that in mind so we don't do anything stupid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, we ran some very straightforward and simple projects with Jira's help. And if I can dig up the project pages for those, I can show you. Not every project is like really, really crazy big, right? Some things are pretty straightforward. Other things are much more complicated.
That's true. And also if you actually comb through the various Jira instances for LFN, you'll probably find, or you will find, that every project does it just a little bit differently, or in some cases a lot differently, depending on their needs. So we may find, maybe the Scrum methodology is not needed for ODIM. We just don't know. Maybe we just need, track action items and track issues, because we'll be limited in project scope, right? But we can decide that as we sort of talk things through.
Yeah. Seems like they're working on issues rather than user stories. So yeah, good to get together with Brian and see his
So one
background.
other thing, for example, they do, and Brian can speak to it as well because he's a TSC member, I think, or at least he attends all the TSC proceedings. All the action items that they have, they're tracked as Jira issues, I believe, Louis, right? At least when I left, that was the case. But that's how they run, and so that gives you a good way of tracking progress on things rather than kind of doing it in the ad hoc way, the way we are.
I don't know if that's the case, but let me go ahead and ping Kenny. Kenny Paul's the TPM for them, and I'll ask him that question
I
as
know
well.
that when Catherine was in charge of the TSC, she instituted that whole,
Okay. Good. Yeah, this certainly gives us a lot of information, and then
Jonas, I have to drop at the bottom of the hour. There was another topic that you put on the agenda, which is the TAC representation.
Oh, did I?
Actually, no, that was actually me. I did it this morning. It's a 2-second, really quick topic. Let me just share my screen real quick. Yep. So here is the here's the TAC meeting from this morning. I just got off this TAC call before I joined here, and I just want to make folks aware that there is a placeholder here for ODIM. You see it highlighted there. So we do have a space, and I know Alex, you and I had sort of chatted about it over email. There is a space for ODIM to sit on the TAC as a consulting type position. It is non-voting because we're a sandbox. So if you take a look at like, tungsten fabric incubation, they don't have a voting. OPX sandbox, they don't vote. LG Vela sandbox, they don't vote, but they do have which representation on the TAC from a consulting perspective, and really to look at cross collaboration and the care and feeding of ODIM. So I just want to make it aware. If we want to assign somebody, we can have a person primary, we can have a secondary. It happens every other week on what is today? Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Yeah.
So, Alex, can you do that as a TAC representative?
Sure, I can do it if no one has any objections.
We don't have any objection. If you can't make it, you can call out and I can take those
Would
meetings.
somebody want to be a secondary just in case?
Sure, I can be secondary.
Okay.
Great. I'll just do this in real time. But thank you both
Just
for
put Alex
volunteering.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see if I can find. There he is.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I don't know if we have any more topics today with Alex dropping now. We got through the agenda. Is there anything else anybody has that you want to bring up?
This is Muthu. I have one input. I see the composition service and telemetry service status is not updated for approval in the conference.
Yeah. Okay, Muthu. Thank you very much. I actually plan on doing that. I recorded it in the meeting that we approved them, but I will go and update those.
Yeah,
Susan, actually, I have a thought. Susan, maybe we need to connect you with some of the release managers from ONAP, so you can get a sense of how they actually drive the projects end to end. And, we may, just learn something from them. I don't know, just exchange ideas.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to do that.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know who the release manager is these days in ONAP, but maybe Kenny knows, Louis.
I apologize. I got sidetracked. Somebody pinged me on an issue. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Alex. Can you repeat the
Who's
question?
the release manager for ONAP?
Oh, David McBride is the release manager. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe David and Susan should chat, right? And just kind of exchange some information.
He presented before, didn't he? A ways back?
He did.
Yes.
He did. I think his material is up on the I want to say the GitHub wiki, but I'm sorry, it could be on our actual wiki. It's somewhere. Let me see if I can put it. I'll make it available. But I know his slides are somewhere on an ODIM platform. I just don't know which one it is. It might be GitHub.
All right, guys. I have to drop. I will. Jonas, if you want to set up a little time to look at all the integrations or whatever they've got,
let me ping you and see if we can find some slot this week. Right. This end of week. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Bye.
And Muthu, I will definitely. I'm on the project and feature proposal page now, and I will update it, and that should take care of that. Anything else?
Thank you, Jonas.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Louis, do you by any chance did you post a link to that GitHub wiki, or should I go look for David McBride's material?
You need a link to the GitHub wiki? Yeah, let me.
Sure, or if you have any, and you could email it to me.
I think it's just on the GitHub. I'm not sure if it's the wiki, but it's just for the GitHub. Yeah, I'll email it over to you. I know we got.
Thank you.
If you go to the ODIM wiki, there's a link to GitHub there as well.
Okay, then I can get there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
right.
No problem. All right.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, all. Thank you.